Is your front door ugly, kind of like mine is? Or maybe it's not ugly, but it just needs a little refresh. Well, today, friends, is your lucky day because I'm going to show you how to not only paint your front door, but to give your whole porch a makeover with a brand new product from Amy Howard at Home called Miracle Paint. Okay, check out all the chippy paint, dog nose marks, and dirt everywhere. This front door definitely needs a makeover. But before we begin, I just want to introduce myself. I'm Heidi Marsh with Revive Heart and Home, coming to you from Mukilteo, Washington, in the great Pacific Northwest, where we've got a small break in the rain for a few days so I can get this project done. Okay, so first of all, let's start with the supplies that we're going to need for this project. The first thing you will need for your front door is a cleaner, and I always recommend Clean Slate. Now, granted, I swept and cleaned out the cobwebs, and I toyed with whether or not I should pressure wash the area just to get rid of all of the dirt from the outside, just to get rid of it. So I may do that. You might want to consider doing that as well, depending on, again, on how dirty your front door is. But then go back with Clean Slate on the glass surfaces if you have any, and then on the wood surface as well, just to get the gunk and the grime off and to create a really, really, really clean surface for your paint to adhere to. The next thing that you will want is, instead of masking tape, I'm going to show you how to use a new product that I love called Jasco Mask and Peel. Now, this is a liquid masking tape, and I just love this product because you paint it on and then it peels right off of the glass, so you don't have to spend all that time and money with painter's tape. Okay, from a brush perspective, I'm going to use two different brushes. I have my stir stick, of course, and then a specialty wedge brush for some of the larger flat surfaces, and then a tapered synthetic brush, both from Amy Howard at Home. This one is new. This one has been well worn. So get those two brushes, and then you are ready to start painting. The things I want to do is remove this kick plate before I do anything else. And I ordered a brand new one off of Amazon. This one has been on our front door for 24 years. So I think that warrants a new kick plate, because looky there. Okay, now that your surface is prepped and cleaned and ready for paint, the first thing we're going to do is to mask it off. Now, again, you're welcome to use painter's tape, but this is my new favorite thing. It's called Jasco Mask and Peel, and you just paint it on the glass where you don't want your paint to go, and then you let it dry and peel it away later. And it doesn't only have applications for like glass like this, but on mirrors and glass in cabinets, especially china cabinets, where they have all those little squares that are just insanely maddening to put tape on. Try this. So shake it up really, really well. Make sure that it is warm enough, anywhere between 40 degrees and 90 degrees. So we are good to go today, and get to it. So you want to make sure we paint it on thick, just like this, and ignore my dog. I'll show you him in a little while. And it says to put it on kind of thick, so I'm going to go for a first pass and then come back with a second pass in a little bit. And for this particular application, I am using a slanted brush, and that will help me get into the corners, just like this. Okay, so I'm going to continue to do that while you stand by. Okay, so now I wait for this to dry, and the way that you can tell that it's dry is it goes from being kind of white, as you can see here, to very clear. So that's going to take about another 20 minutes. So in the meantime, I'm going to clean up my railing here because we're going to paint that too. Now let's take a moment to actually talk about what this great miracle paint is, since I've been talking about it and actually haven't gone over all the details. So this is not, first of all, a chalk paint. It is an enamel paint, which means that it is super durable and it won't have a dead matte finish. It will have a little bit of a gloss, but it won't be glossy. So it's kind of a nice middle of the road finish, sheen. And what enamel paints are generally used for are for front doors and cabinets. So if you want the kind of paint that the pros use, this is what you will want. Now, why is it called miracle paint? Because like chalk paint, it does not require priming, sanding, or a sealant coat. So again, you don't have to sand. You do have to clean, like I did before. You want to get off all the dirt, because I don't care what kind of paint you have, it's not going to stick if there's dirt on it. So clean up, but you don't have to sand. The other great thing is that it dries in an hour. So that is why, my friends, it is called miracle paint. So I got this beautiful color right here. It's green. Now you may be thinking, why didn't you go and do something fun or more exciting from what you already have on the door? There's a reason for that. So we live, I don't know if you can see this, in a historic home in the city of Mukilteo, Washington. We are on the National Historic Registry. Besides always wanting to live in a Dutch colonial that's white with green shutters and a green door, I got my dream. We really can't do a whole lot of changing in terms of colors and big aesthetics unless we go through a permitting process and get it approved by the Historical Commission. And I just didn't have time, nor did I really want to do that for this particular project. So we are sticking with the same color green in general that is on the front door. And my shutters are all green, so I'm going to do all my shutters too. But for the purposes of today, we are going to show you the two shutters on the right, and I've taken that one down already. And then we're going to go ahead and do our door. So, okay, now that I have this all stirred up, I'm going to start with this thinner brush, because that's going to be better for some of these more narrow areas. And then I may just use the wider wedge brush on the larger, flatter parts of the door. But I'm going to make sure that you open your door so that you don't forget the part of the door that goes behind the frame. So, and I apologize for my dog. So let's get painting. And kind of from a strategy standpoint for what to paint first, I like to paint the edges, inside edges of all of the squares first, and then go back on the flat surfaces. Now you can mess up and see how I'm not even being careful here, because you are just going to peel that right off. And I am putting it on a little bit thick, but I am going to brush it out so it's not globbed on, if that makes sense. Now, one thing I forgot to mention, when you are painting a door with a lot of grain in it, my door has heavy grain, you want to make sure that you always go in the direction of the grain. So for instance, from this seam here up to this seam here, the grain goes back and forth this way. So follow the grain, and then from up here down here, again, you want to follow the grain. So the wood gets in all the crevices of the grain. And what I am noticing about this paint is that it is going on very light, but drying down much darker. So I was a little concerned at first because I didn't think it would be similar to the color that's on there, and then I have to go to the Historic Commission and get approval. I'm who knows, but anyway, it is drying down darker, and I really like that. And I think once I get a second coat on, or even a third coat, we shall see. So Okay, so while we wait for my front door to dry, I've taken down this one shutter to start, and it is plastic. It is not original to the house, even though I would like to think that it is. But the great thing about this miracle paint is has many applications. So it goes on plastic, metal, wood, ceramic, which you will see in a second, and just about everything else. So I wanted to show you here again how this goes on. This, even though it's fake wood grain, I'm going to go ahead and get in on the corners first here. And then, I'm going to use my thick wedge brush here, get in all of the corners, make a square. Again, your first coat is not going to give you 100% coverage. Gosh, stuff from the trees is always falling everywhere. And then, so I would go make a square just like this, and then fill in from there. And then voila, let dry. Okay, now it's time to paint our metal. You can just paint or spray it on, and you don't even have to use a clean metal primer. Hey guys, welcome to day 2 of painting. And it is raining, so I'm going to be quick about this because my camera is out of cover from the porch, and I'm going to get my second coat on here. Thankfully, it's 52 degrees because the paint should only be applied if it's greater than 50 degrees, and that's something y'all should know in case you decide to paint in the middle of winter. Oh, I mean, wait, June. So, hang tight. I'm going to put on my second coat. You can kind of see here what the color is doing so far, and we will get moving, and then I will come back with you when I am done. Okay, so I've got my first coat on. I'm going to give you another pro tip. So you can see some of the black here showing through, and when you paint over this, and you don't want a streaky look, what I have found, because this paint is a little bit thinner than I'm traditionally used to using, I go ahead and I put the paint on first, so get the paint on there, and then I dip my brush again, and I come back with a light touch, and I just glide over it. Rather, see, if I push on it too much, it will pull the paint away, so I'm just lightly pulling it like that. Okay, it's time to paint our pots with Miracle Paint in American Blue. I thought that was totally appropriate. Here I'm painted in on terracotta and later on some plastic pots. These applications required 3 coats, and I just love the dark blue color that ensued. Now it's time to spruce up my home. I added some red, white, and blue flowers in my flower box on either side of my front door, and picked up some flowers for the pots that I'm going to put along the front steps. I laid down a little bit of new bark, and voila, it looks fabulous. Now it's time to take away the fabulous Josco mask and peel. So grab a straight edge knife with a brand new blade. That's very important. Cut along the seam of the door and then just peel it away. I have this other tool I also love to use. It's another straight edge, and I use that to scrape off any remaining Josco. For my final touch, I added some patriotic white lanterns with ribbon interspersed with the pots on the front porch, and now I just have to put it all together. Okay, so now that we are done, I want to just recap my experience with this fabulous Miracle Paint. So the first takeaway is that you will get full coverage in 2 to 3 coats. The green paint, full coverage achieved in 2 coats. The blue paint, for some reason, took 3 to 4 coats in some places. Just, I think it was because the plastic underneath was very, very light. So anyway, full coverage in 2 or 3 coats. The paint will go on lighter and dry down darker, at least in the darker colors that I tried. It does take about an hour to dry, so I would definitely wait for the full hour before applying a second coat. And my final takeaway is that it is fabulous on so many different surfaces. I tried terracotta, I tried metal, I tried plastic, I tried wood, and it just went on beautifully. The coverage was great. And again, highly recommend this paint, especially for all your outdoor projects. This particular one, after the first coat, it rained and no problem. So really happy to report that it held up to all of our Seattle elements here.